Greetings, brothers and sisters. I got some Don Lemons, things worse than I thought with Jussie Smollett
No, boo hoo, ooh, cancel culture.
coming. I want to get to Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol series because there's kind of something interesting about that. And I want to start here with Alec Baldwin. Brian Williams had his last Brian the Liar, Lion Brian as they called him on New York Post. And so let's start here. This is Hilaria Baldwin's Instagram page. And she decided to do a Christmas photo, which was immediately put out there, right? We got a New York City Christmas tree, possible holiday card photo. We aren't all looking, but gang's all here, candy canes and all. You know, you just disappear. Like they're incapable of doing this because they need the attention. They say they don't want the paparazzi. But these two people are some of the biggest attention seekers. That's why there's so much on Instagram. They both have very vibrant Instagram accounts. And, you know, the one guy who got it right was Jimmy Kimmel's. He just disappeared for 3 months when he was going to be canceled. Disappeared. Like he wasn't, nobody heard about him. He just took a 3-month vacation. Like 3 months. He just said, all right, I'm going to take 3 months off. As much as I dislike Jimmy Kimmel's, he's more clever than all these other dopes. You just disappear. But to make things worse, Alec Baldwin posted this. And it says the cast and the crew of Rust have written a letter talking about how it was a wonderful place to work. Right? And he decided to post this on Instagram. Of course, he's blocking the comments. And they've signed it, right? A bunch of the cast and crew, including Sweet Pea Caddis. Sweet Pea Caddis signed it. But Hannah Gutierrez, the armorer, and David Halls, the guy who handed Alec Baldwin the gun, have not signed it. And they're the people that Alec Baldwin tried to throw under the bus, right? But here's the letter. For some of the crew of Rust, to whom it may concern, this letter is written on behalf of the cast and crew of the film production Rust. It was not sanctioned or influenced in any way by the producers. We, the undersigned, believe the public narrative surrounding the workplace tragedy to be inadequate and wish to press a more accurate account of our experience. We are hurting from the loss of our friend and colleague. So they go on and talk about how it was a wonderful place to work and a wonderful set. But we already know that people walked out, people protested, they weren't getting paid. Their hotel rooms weren't being paid for because, they live in California and they were out in Santa Fe, which is sort of an expensive area, and they weren't being taken care of. Then there was an open letter about the safety on the set, right? And so, it would have been fine if Alec Baldwin didn't shoot somebody. He shot somebody. That happened. Alec Baldwin shot somebody, and now his story about pulling back the hammer has fallen apart by people who have taken a gun similar to Alec Baldwin's Colt 45 and demonstrated that the hammer locks and you have to pull the trigger for it to fire. And so Alec Baldwin's already been, exposed as a liar. The interview was a disaster. And so instead of just letting it go, right, you've already failed on the interview and, public opinion has gone south on you because you had people who hated you because of your Trump stances. There's one hilarious post. He hammered Trump forever. So all the right-wing people, Trump supporters, took a dislike to him. Plus, he's been liberal for a while. So he already has his haters. But now people who might support him, people like George Clooney, people like Angelina Jolie, and people like, liberal Democrats and gun safety people are bailing on him as well as CNN bailed on him, right? All these, different various types of people that should support him through this are bailing on him. His fans, whatever it is. You kill somebody. I mean, there's no there's no way out of this thing, right? Like you're just done. Like disappear somewhere. You have money, and he's got 2 houses. Go on vacation somewhere, whatever it is, right? You just disappear. You just leave. You stop contacting the media. Stop chasing people down the street that are filming you. You just disappear. Like you don't make any news. You don't go out. You just and you should be like that anyway, because you were holding a gun that killed somebody. You fired a gun that killed somebody that you said was your new friend. And so you should be devastated. Like I would feel, I wouldn't be in this situation, but I would feel horrible, right? Like it's something that you never really recover from. You took somebody's life, accidentally or whatever it was, and, you're going to be miserable. Stop defending yourself. Stop, posting letters like this about what a great place it was to work. Nobody's buying it. Nobody cares, right? The court of public opinion has spoken, and they don't like you, and you're not very likable anyway, and it's become more obvious how self-serving and how, horrible that interview was that you did. So this was the Alec Baldwin takes his family Christmas tree shopping and more star snaps. It's news because everything you do is news. Every time people see you, you're the guy that shot this, cinematographer, right? You're that guy now. And you're going to be that guy, whether you're charged or not, for the rest of your life. You're like in OJ land. Every time you go out, people are like, oh, there's Alec Baldwin, right? Like the same way they say, oh, there's OJ. You're in OJ territory, bro. You guys aren't getting it. Doesn't matter how many kids you have. These blonde Spanish kids, right? She's Spanish, but their kids are all blonde, right? And so, because she's from Boston. And so you just disappear. That's your one choice. Like you say, all right, my fame is over. But she loves fame. He loves it. Not as much as she loves it. But they want to be famous. They want to be Instagram famous, Instagool famous. They want to be social media famous, an actor famous, and all these things. You're no longer going to be working. You can't, this isn't going to blow over, right? Like you're in kind of Mel Gibson territory. And, but it's even worse for you. And so you had so many people that hate you on one side, and now your own people, the liberal people, have bailed on you. You got nobody. You got nothing. This is never going to be good. There's no way to reverse this story. There's no way to do damage control. You're that guy, right? You are that guy, the guy who shot somebody on set and then tried to weasel out of it and throw everyone else under the bus and take zero responsibility for it. And then fake tears and a horrible interview. You're that guy. They kind of both know because their Instagram pages, they've deleted their Twitter accounts or, shut them down or whatever, but they both were big Instagoolers. Hilaria was always, doing yoga stuff and, food stuff. And, she was posted on Instagram all the time. She was an Instagram celebrity, right? And Alec Baldwin used to post these rants, which I loved, right? I miss them. Like, I miss those rants, those Trump rants and things. But when Hillary got, outed for being a white girl from Boston pretending to be a Spanish girl from Boston, right? When she appropriated a culture. And then, now the shooting thing, which made everything worse, they're not posting like they used to, and they never will. They can't. They've had to shut down comments. Everything they do is being scrutinized in a bad way. They know it, and yet they still keep on trying to, reverse people's opinion, and you can't do that. Like, it's been proven. Like, it never happens. Everyone's opinion of you is going to be this, and you just should go away, right? You can come back, but you're never going to be like a celebrity again, in 5-10 years when people forget. But other than that, your days of Instagram fame are over. You're that guy, Alec. You're always going to be that guy, right? Speaking of that guy.
Well, look at the time. I'll try to keep this brief. After 28 years of peacock logos on much of what I own, it is my choice now to jump without a net into the great unknown, as I do for the first time in my 62 years. My biggest worry is for my country. The truth is, I'm not a liberal or a conservative. I'm an
Come on, bro. You're a liberal. Lion Brian. So Brian got caught saying that he received fire in a helicopter he was never in. Right? He was some sort of Afghanistan thing. He told this story, and he embellished it. He lied. He got caught lying. And that used to mean something. Like, it wouldn't matter now. Reporters get caught lying. The hypocrisy. Hypocrisy's off the chart. We'll get to Don Lemon's, right? But they all are just, out liars now. It doesn't matter. But back when Brian Williams got caught telling a story that wasn't true, he got defrocked. He lost his anchor position. He was the anchor of NBC, NBC News, I'm sorry. NBC Nightly News, there's 3 anchors. And that meant something back then because, people used to watch the 3 network newses. Now people don't. So all that meant something. He was like, the number 1 anchor at that time. And so they put him on the 11 o'clock hour, which nobody watches, after Rachel Maddow's and other people. And he just has wallowed there in his own lying misery.
Constitutionalist. I believe in this place, and in my love of country, I yield to no one. But the darkness on the edge of town has spread to the main roads and highways and neighborhoods. It's now at the local bar and the bowling alley, at
the darkness. Is this conspiracy theories?
The school board and the grocery store, and it must be acknowledged and answered for. Grown men and women who swore an oath to our Constitution, elected by their constituents, possessing the kinds of college degrees I could only dream of, have decided to join the mob and become something they are not, while hoping we somehow forget who they were. They've decided to burn it all down with us inside. That should scare you to no end as much as it scares.
What are you doing here, Brian? What are you talking about? You said you weren't a liberal or Republican, a liberal or a conservative, but now you're just going full in on this fake conspiracy theory stuff, which I'm going to get into with NBC Peacock, and this is going to come back around.
There's an aging volunteer fireman. To my coworkers, my love and thanks, and I say again, everyone I've worked with has made me better at what I do.
You're so gracious, Brian.
To my family, love and thanks doesn't begin to cover it, but now I have the time to better express it. My friends know who they are. No one's been blessed with better friends. To the guests on this broadcast, as you heard the nice man say a few minutes ago, it's always been about you. Otherwise,
it's always been about the guests, because otherwise it'd be about a liar.
I'd be staring into the camera for an hour, 5 nights a week, and nobody wants to see that. You are the 11th hour and will continue to be the 11th hour. This is where I thank you, however, for being so great, for explaining these last 5 years. As a proud New Jersey native, this is where I get to say regrets. I've had a few, but...
Oh, my God. I guess just stop it. I thought you were going to say, well, how long is this thing going on here, Brian? Let's get to the end here. I'll fast forward.
Without you, there's no us. I'll show myself out until we meet again. That is our broadcast for this Thursday night. Thank you for being here with us. And for all my colleagues at the networks of NBC News, good night.
Wow, he sucks so bad. But, not as bad as Don Lemon's. So, Don Lemon's Brand's pal, Jussie Smollett, a liar. And,
Think twice.
Because these liberals are really bad at bailing. Now, Trump bailed on his people. Trump is, he stabbed so many people in the back, including the supporters he brought up to the Capitol on that, that crazy day. Right? And then he bailed on them. He riled them up and he bailed on them. Trump, and Fox News, I don't know what they do. But jury finds actor Jussie Smollett guilty of lying to police in a hate crime hoax. We all knew Jussie was lying. Like, it just took some people a little bit longer. Dave Chappelle did a whole bit on it. Everyone kind of knew he was lying. The story was ridiculous. And so Don Lemon has sort of stuck by him. But he's waited until he was found guilty, right? And there's no worse, Don Lemon has no problem. Don Lemons has no problem saying Trump is a liar. He's a liar. That's how he says it. But then he says it here to do with Jussie Smollett.
Yeah, he had to make up too many lies to why he didn't want to do certain things, or like to cover, like another lie, and that, I guess he got caught up in that because he took the stand himself. He got angry with the prosecutor as the prosecutor poked holes in his story, calling, only the only other witnesses liars. Yeah, I said it.
That's how Don Lemon says liar. He's a liar because he did it with Trump so much. I've showed clips about that. That's like, he's got into a habit of doing that. But it was babbling there. And it's because his friend, somebody that he hung out with multiple times, but he also warned Jussie Smollett. He warned him, and I didn't know it was as bad as it was because it sounds worse here.
CNN. Smollett testified that CNN anchor Don Lemon texted him at the time of the attack, sharing information.
At the time of the attack. Now, is this why the police are like in his home? Because what happened was he, faked this, staged this, hoaxed this attack. He went home with a Subway sandwich. He left the noose on, and he had bleach still on him. Didn't go home and immediately take the noose off or take the noose off on the street, because you don't want to have a noose around your neck unless you're, it's Halloween or something, and you're playing Ichabod Crane, or, But he went home, and he was, still having bleach on his coat and his clothes, and he was wearing a noose, and the police didn't believe him, right? And he's eating his Subway sandwich. And it seems like Don Lemons somehow knew the police didn't believe him and texted him, right? So now he's calling him a liar, but back then he was trying to help the guy, cover his tracks.
That the Chicago Police Department did not believe Smollett's account of what happened. Dagan, what do you make of this?
Journalistic ethics brought to you.
And so this is bad. Like, how did Don Lemons know the police didn't believe him? And he chose to text Jussie Smollett, who's now been found guilty, 5 out of 6 felonies, right? I guess he's, probably not going to do jail time, but he's embarrassed. His career's over. And on top of the Chris Cuomo's things, Don Lemons did basically the same thing. That's bad, right? Like, it's really bad for Don Lemons.
I just want to be straight with you. I think you're crazy.
It's BS.
The hypocrisy is off the charts, and it is sickening.
Ignorantly, ghoulishly.
So I found this. The audio isn't so good. It's not the best quality video, but Don Lemons, this is what he said last night.
Here is the breaking news. A jury in Chicago finding actor Jussie Smollett guilty of 5 of 6 counts of lying to police when he falsely claimed to be the victim of a racist and anti-gay hate attack. The judge will decide if he'll face time behind bars or get probation. I want to discuss now this verdict with CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson, a criminal defense attorney. So far, good evening, Joey. You've been right on with your assessment.
Joey Jackson, he's the guy. He's been right on. Like, everyone knew that Jussie was lied, but this is not up on Don Lemon's Twitter feed. He is they post their videos up on Don Lemons Tonight and Cuomo Primetime. So he doesn't really want to cover this, right? Because he's now involved in the story.
Of all of this, your analysis, what's your reaction to the verdict?
Yeah, I think, Don, good to be with you. It's the proper result. When you look at the case, you look at the circumstances, you look at everything else.
It's like he's aged 10 years in the last year or something, right? Like, he's gotten old. It's like, what's going on there? His wrinkles. It's like he's lost weight over to Chris Cuomo's. I think Chris Cuomo's kind of like his soulmate on CNN, and it's like it's draining him of his life.
Many people have said that this is a case about credibility, and she say, I disagree. I think this is a case, certainly every case relies upon and turns on credibility, but it's also about a narrative that makes sense. We lawyers, when we go before juries and we pick them, we say always use your common sense and good judgment. And when you weave a web and tell a tale and it doesn't make sense, it becomes problematic. I think that's what happened here. His narrative, that is Mr. Smollett's, did just not carry the day. And as a result of that, the jury...
Yeah, he's obviously lying. Come on, we don't need a lawyer in here for this. It didn't make sense at all. It was a horrible story. It fell apart like immediately, right? It's like a child level thinking. The hoax that was such a low level hoax.
Jury really discerned that something was amiss, and they found him accountable. So I think it was the right result.
All right, let's talk about that. Before I go to that, what do you think of the strategy of his kind of throw, everything against the wall, muddy everybody, muck it? What did you think of his defensive strategy?
What do you think about him fingering me and telling him that I tweeted him on the night of the crime? Like, what do you think about that strategy?
I think certainly from a defense perspective, you have to raise the specter of reasonable doubt, but you have to do it in a way that pokes holes in the prosecution's case. It's difficult to do that when already you're locked into a story. It's difficult to do that when you say you don't know anything about it, but they show you a video and they show you various footage where you're at that actual scene and potentially it's you planning for something to happen. It's difficult for you to say that I don't know and I wasn't involved, and then they present text messages to you with certain brothers.
Like he had one, the Akuma Matata brothers. The thing about it is, like, he had one choice, and that was just to admit to it and, beg for forgiveness, because everybody knows. Like, everybody knows he faked it. Like, there's no, maybe he has some fan somewhere that just won't, go there, but everyone else knows, right? Like, it was so bad. It was such a childish plot, right?
Others who were involved with you. And you say, I really haven't been communicating with them, but then there are phone records that really match you up with them. And then they say, the police, let me have your phone and let me evaluate it. And you say, no, I don't think so, but we're trying to help you.
Because Don Lemons told me they are on to me.
I won't give you my phone today. And then when you do, you block out and redact certain things. It's just very difficult. We want to take DNA. We just want to help. I don't think I want to give you DNA. And so there's just so much overwhelming evidence here. And I get the defense wanting to put the police department on trial. And I don't believe in the police department. And why would he really cooperate with them? But I just think it was too much. And then when you testify and you tell a story.
Are you going to count his lies and gumballs?
The dynamics of which just belie common sense. I think this is what the result. Talented person, very sad state of affairs, but at the end of the day, there are consequences to your actions. I think the jury, in pronouncing guilt, I think really spoke to that, and a judge will speak to what specifically those consequences will be.
What about consequences for Don Lemons, right? Don Lemons was kind of an accomplice in all this.
Yeah, he had to make up too many lies to why he didn't want to do certain things, or like to cover, like another lie, and that. Yeah, I guess he got caught up in that because he took the stand himself. He got angry with the prosecutor as the prosecutor poked holes in his story, calling, only the only other witnesses liars. Do you think that hurt him taking the stand?
The way he says liars, it's better here than the other thing I showed you. Like Don Lemon's energy is so low here. Like he knows he's just a hypocrite, right? Like he knows on some level, he's covering Jussie Smollett much differently than he'd cover any Republican or any, sort of Trump person or any, number of people. Like, Jussie Smollett, he did damage to a couple of different communities, the African-American community and the gay community, because now when people say, hey, there's a hate crime, they're going to go, no, that's just Jussie Smollett thing, right? He did damage, like the people he hurt here, like the January 6th thing, the Democrats and the media won that, right? Trump didn't win that. And Jussie Smollett, the liberals and the groups that he was, trying to be a part of, got hurt by what he did, right? And Don Lemons, by covering for him and doing whatever he did, he made it worse for those same groups that he belongs to, demographics that he wants to represent. And so the whole thing, he's just, I don't know how much the Chris Cuomo thing is, but CNN is a frickin' joke now to so many more people. Like, it's been a joke to us for years. We know, right? But, like Don Lemons is just a clown and Chris Cuomo's, the two of them, it's just really bad television. It's not just bad news. It's bad entertainment. It's unwatchable. I mean, even this interview here, right? And he's not getting to the real problem here, which is he called him. He's involved in this thing. He played a role in it, not a good role. He was on the side of a guy who's done damage to these communities. You tried to help him out. You say, well, he was his friend or whatever. Yeah, but it was the middle of a police investigation, and somehow he found out the police weren't buying the story, and he communicated it to him. And, so, like, he's just a hypocrite. There's nothing he can say. Like, that's the same kind of thing Trump, he rails against Trump doing.
It's devastating. Now, I get why he would, because of the fact that he's compelling and he can tell a story and he seems sincere and he seems as though, what he says should be believed and relied upon, unless you said something inconsistent prior, like, right, when you go on TV. I never took the noose off at all, but you said before that you really did. Just so many things. And so when you go onto the witness stand, and there's certain things, Don, that...
It's a problem with the nooses. There's a noose involved, and there's like noose controversy, right?
That you can explain. But then you have to explain. And then how many things can you possibly explain? $3,500 check. It was for nutrition, nothing to see here. The $100 also, I don't know anything about these guys. I thought that they were, pale, they were white. I'm sorry, they're black. Just too many things. I think when you really are on trial for telling a lie, and then you compound that by actually lying, it makes a judge who sits in judgment of you when you're sentenced really troubled. And that's the thing I think he's going to be facing here when he looks at a judge who has to pronounce sentence on what he actually was accused of and convicted of.
Here's what folks are concerned about, that what he did might undermine future victims, legitimate victims.
Yeah, and you helped him. Like, this is, like I just said this, and you helped him, right? You helped, him undermine real credible crimes like this in communities that both of you belong to, right?
Of hate crimes.
Look, I think that there's a few things a judge is going to look at. Now, when you look...
All right, so that's enough of this thing. But Don Lemons, I don't know if they'll fire him over this. I don't think they will. But, it's bad. Like, CNN is just, they can't, like I said before, they can't stop the truth from coming out. That's the time we live in. And, people have trouble facing it. Like, he's not able to do it consciously. But, deep down he knows he's just as bad as Trump, right? Like, and even worse. But, like, he's the same kind of thing. He's the same things that upset him about the Republicans that he rails about every night. He has perpetrated himself, and the hypocrisy is off the charts.
The hypocrisy is off the charts, and it is sickening.
Okay, so let's move to this Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol, which is being streamed on Peacock, the Peacock network, like every, that's NBC, the Peacock. It says, fact. In 1991, a document was locked in the safe of the director of the CIA. Listen to the music here. Its cryptic text includes references to an ancient portal in an unknown location. And it also contains the phrase, "It's buried out there somewhere." Okay, so they start off the TV show. This is the first episode. I'm going to get into some stuff. It's spoiler alert. I don't know how many of you guys would be interested in seeing this thing. It's not great. Name of the episode is As Above, So Below, right? We know what that means. And it's Freemasonic origins, right? This is the actor Ashley Zuckerman, who plays Robert Langdon, the same character as Tom Hanks played, the featured character in Dan Brown's books. And he gets into this stuff here.
But people can believe what they want, right? It's a free country. At what point, though, do their convictions and your pursuit of happiness become mutually exclusive? When do benign symbols...
So he's getting into, like, anti-conspiracy theory stuff in a Dan Brown TV show, right? It's brutal here.
When do benign symbols become malignant?
So he's going to go there, right? Like they're playing this foreboding music. And he has the snake unite or die. And then he transposes that with don't tread on me. Like they're comparing don't tread on me to the swastika in Hitler, right? And so they're going full woke. You know, I mean, it's just in a Dan Brown TV show, right? The king of conspiracy theories and all this stuff. Here you have, and then he gets into these white supremacist stuff here. Of course, we know this is a 666, but it's supposed to be, you know, in terms of the mainstream media, some white supremacist thing.
Difference is that now people can push symbols out to millions with the click of a button, promoting myths as fact.
Promoting myths as fact, right?
And in this post-truth world, where does that leave us? And in this post-truth world, where does that leave us? And in this post-truth world, where does that leave us?
In this post-truth world. So they had the balls to come up and hammer the truth movement in a Dan Brown TV show, right? Like this is where a lot of these narratives came from, was Dan Brown, right? All this stuff to do with the Freemasons and the Illuminati and all that stuff we know about. So this is how they're framing it, that this is a truth teller, this Robert Langdon character. When these, you know, they've put out these conspiracy theories, they've fed conspiracy theories in the Dan Brown movies and books. Like all these things, they've, you know, cultivated people's need for conspiracy theories, people's need for, you know, to understand, or not need, because everybody has a sense that there is shadow governments and shadow power figures. We know that the Freemasons, that include multiple presidents. I mean, I covered that, you know, the Queen's cousin is in charge of the Freemasons in England, and that she had a Freemasonic nurse, and that they had this Freemasonic Halloween extravaganza where they claimed multiple presidents, and they said that their symbol, the capstone of the pyramid, which is a Freemasonic symbol, and all that Illuminati stuff was a part of that, was on the dollar bill. And they talked about Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, which comes up in the show, right? The Dan Brown stuff is, you know, at the heart of a lot of the you know, awakening that's happened. And now they're, you know, they're railing against it, right? And in this show is the worst of all the Dan Brown stuff. The symbols in this TV show promote all this stuff that we've, you know, seen infiltrate the so-called truth community, even start the truth community, a lot of it coming from Dan Brown. So let's look at these two quotes. Brian Williams, who used to work for NBC and now works for MSNBC. I mean, it's the same thing, and it's part of this Peacock network. They're all the same thing, right? And so he says this on his Goodbye show.
But the darkness on the edge of town has spread to the main roads and highways and neighborhoods. It's now at the local bar and the bowling alley, at the school board and the grocery store. And it must be acknowledged and answered for.
And in this post-truth world, where does that leave us?
See, this is all about conspiracy theories and the truth movement and disinformation, which is, to the mainstream media, the biggest problem, right? A group of people who are individuals who have no real power, don't have money power, not billionaires or, you know, multi-millionaires and things, don't have influence, don't run corporations, people who are just seeking alternative understanding. And this idea of shadow governments, that is the whole basis of these Dan Brown, you know, secret society stuff, which is the whole basis of this Dan Brown show, right? So the hypocrisy here, where they're trying to be woke and politically correct, it's a post-truth world, right? But then they get into these bizarre conspiracy theories in the show.
Sir?
So this is the first episode, As Above, So Below. This is his mentor's hand, who is a 33-degree Mason. He has a ring with a capstone and a pyramid on it that becomes a part of the symbology later on, right? And his mentor's hand has been it's not only his mentor, but he was dating the dude's daughter, and they were about to get engaged. And, you know, there's sons involved, and there's a secret group of the Freemasons called the Leviathan, right? And they're all looking for some hidden superpower that exists in Washington, D.C. someplace under all the Freemasonic and, you know, all the, I mean, it's going to be some spoiler alert things here if you want to watch the show. But I'm just saying it's the most Illuminati show I've ever seen, right? And they have the audacity to talk about, you know, this truth stuff right in the beginning.
And in this post-truth world, where does that leave us?
You know, this conspiracy theory stuff in the beginning, and talk about it like they're anti this movement. But they've put these shows out, and it's, you know, 9 hours of, it's 45 minutes, 10 episode, 45 minutes long. So basically, you know, 9 hours, whatever, 8.5 hours of content that, you know, one puzzle's solved, and it's all symbology, it's all Illuminati, it's all Freemasonic stuff. The Freemasonic stuff is very heavy throughout. They get into the historical aspect of Freemasons and hidden governments. You know, we know about the Skull and Bones. We know about these groups of fraternal groups, these little fraternity boys that have power, and they have so much, you know, like, you know, history of presidents and starting the CIA, which was started by Skull and Bones. It's not, they don't mention Skull and Bones in the show, but it's all intertwined, right? The CIA, they try to make the CIA look both good and bad, you know, which is another organization that deals in secrets and hypocrisy and all these things.
I know these symbols.
There's his Freemasonic ring, a 33-degree Freemasonic ring, and the guy's got these symbols on his fingertips, all of it, right? And so he has to go and solve this mystery to free his mentor. Like that's, you know, the theme of the show. So they spend the first 5 episodes looking for the capstone of the pyramid that's supposed to hide some secret information, right? They have the audacity to pretend that they are anti-conspiracy theorists.
And in this post-truth world, where does that leave us?
And conspiracy theories, when this whole show is predicated on you being, you know, wanting to know the answer to these conspiracy theories. So you want to go down the rabbit hole as a viewer. They're cultivating this. Like the hypocrisy, this is, you know, NBC and MSNBC and all these, you know, related networks that are liberal and they're anti-conspiracy theory, and yet they try to hook people in. This is one of the ways that they're getting people to the Peacock network, is to present this exclusive presentation of Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol and put all this symbology in there. And then for them to demonize it in the beginning, I mean, it's just so bad.
There was some kind of wax.
And then they find that they boil the thing and they find the grid with all these symbols. And then they come up with these symbols here.
Heaven and earth. Herodom, the holy house sitting above the visible planets, moon, sun, the circumpunct, also the universal symbol for God.
And so this is what he comes up with. You know, there's all this, you know, the Illuminati eye here, the capstone, the pyramid, all these various types of symbols, some of them religious, right? And so this is, you know, the ultimate in conspiracy theory. All of it is about solving puzzles. All of it's about conspiracy theories. And they have the audacity to pretend they're above this in some way, right? That, you know, they're talking down to the people that they're cultivating as an audience, right? I mean, without Dan Brown's books, a lot of the stuff that has entered into the truth community, and, you know, those are fictional tales with some, you know, hints at truth, but it sparked people's interest in this thing. And then they find out it's real. Like George Washington was a Freemason, and, you know, about a third of the founding fathers were Freemasons, and they had a different understanding. They weren't Christians. They weren't religious people. They were, you know, they had something else going on there. And then all the secrecy behind these various fraternal groups, right? These fraternities of dudes that, have these secret little clubs where they establish power and all the rest of it. And they're speaking out against it at the same time as they are, creating an audience for it. They are feeding the audience need for these types of, the Lost TV show and the Dan Brown books. And, how many things have a conspiracy theory in them? How many mysteries, suspense, dramas, spy, there's just the whole spy network stuff, right? Like, it's just, embarrassing that they would take this turn.
But the darkness on the edge of town has spread to the main roads and highways and neighborhoods. It's now at the local bar and the bowling alley, at the school board and the grocery store. And it must be acknowledged and answered for.
And in this post-truth world, where does that leave us?
The hypocrisy of it all, right? Because they've created this new narrative that the truth community is the most dangerous thing to America. And they've created this profile that doesn't fit most of us, because it's over 50% of the people. I mean, almost everybody's watched some of these videos and certainly some of these TV shows. Dan Brown's books were unbelievably popular. And so many TV shows and movies have conspiracy theories in it. I've showed this over and over again in videos. I've talked about it. Like, it's something where the shadow government and conspiracies exist. That's why there's a word for it. It isn't like there's never ever been a conspiracy, and it's our whole country's built by it. It's not like it's, oh wow, that's so outlandish to think there would ever be a conspiracy. People lying? The people would never lie and cheat their brothers and sisters. I mean, people are getting cheated all the time. And there's an obsession with criminality, with murder, with stealing, where so many TV shows and movies feature robbers and thieves as the protagonists and heroes, right? Alibaba and the 40 Thieves and, all those kind of things. And it's just snowballed from there, where villains and serial killers are now protagonists, and, demons and monsters and vampires are protagonists in movies. Like, we've seen this over time. Maleficent used to be a villain and now is a hero. So it's even gotten worse. And the illusion behind television, the illusion behind, movies. There was this book, Propaganda, by Edward Bernays, and, how it manipulates people's minds and takes their brainwaves from the active beta state. Your brainwaves are in the beta state are active. You're thinking, you're, interactive, to a sleepy, passive alpha stage where you're highly programmable when you're watching TV and movies. And they have the, audacity to say this is a post-truth world. Well, when you infuse TV shows and movies into people's lives, and you have all these different levels of consciousness, and on some levels, when you're watching a movie, you think it's real. There's some levels to your consciousness that don't understand deception and illusion and things. And when you're watching a TV show, it looks like real reality or a movie. And so people have developed more and more mental illness and have difficulty differentiating truth from fiction. And then all the way the news is presented, all the negativity and the doomsday stuff they've pushed for years, and now all the apocalyptic stuff they've pushed, and all this Dan Brown stuff, and all this conspiracy theories and movies and TV shows. They've done everything possible to create this in people, and they're feeding, by presenting this on the Peacock Network, by presenting this Dan Brown TV show and making it an exclusive because they know people are into it, right? And so their whole, audience is into this idea of hidden power in these fraternal organizations that exist in reality, right? The Freemasons, the Illuminati, the Rosa Christians, and all these other groups, right? That, the Kabbalists and the, all across the board, the Skull and Bones. There's all these groups of, secret groups of dudes that meet behind closed doors in these, these clubs that they have, and they try to create more power and wealth for themselves. I mean, it's just, a part of human nature at this point, and they've exposed this stuff. And then they're saying, oh my God, you guys are a threat for actually not believing in the official story anymore. Wait, why do you guys not believe in the official story anymore when we've pushed all these different theories and agendas? It's just ridiculous, right? And it's just a mess because you can't find anything by going down the rabbit hole. And this TV show and all these movies and books, there's a mystery within an enigma, that old saying or whatever it is. And you never get to the bottom of it because you're sifting through a sea of lies. And that's the problem with the truth community. I've said it over and over again. If you want truth, you have to go to God. You connect with God and you get the truth from the source, a source that can't be deceptive. God's love, like the love that's given in the pranahuti, the transmission given in the heartfulness system is, pure God's love, and there's no deception in it. You go to liars for lies, you go to God for truth. You go to God for reality. But most people don't want reality. They want something that's palatable, that, aligns with their belief system. So they go to liars searching for the truth, but really they're looking for someone to validate their own warped perception of reality. And that's most people. And that's why the world's, going in this direction. And there has to be like a waking up of humanity at some point. Just, or either we're going to go off the cliff. It's like we're going towards the cliff, in some sort of hypnotized, an illusion type of reality, not knowing the cliff is there, and then, going over the cliff, or waking up and going, hey, there's a cliff there. We got to turn around, and go the other direction. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.